Well, the greatest source of happiness in my life is my family. It's quite a natural preference. I met my Italian wife in London when she lived in London. 1990 and 1991, we moved to Italy. Both of my daughters were born in Italy, but for some reason, even though they look very similar, one is very different, has a very different personality to the other. Everyone knows that English people have a reputation for not demonstrating a certain amount of emotion. An example of this is Roger Moore, the ex-James Bond. Roger Moore, when he is happy, has a face like this. When he is anxious, you see his brow go up slightly. But that's about all. On the other hand, the Italians are fantastic. They cannot have a conversation with their hands in their pocket. It's absolutely impossible. They need to communicate with gestures. So, our elder daughter has turned out to be a perfect English example. She doesn't wave her hands around. She has a very controlled face, and she says what she feels rather than demonstrates what she feels. She's 23. However, our younger daughter, who's Kerry, 18 years old, is the perfect Italian subject example. So, gestures in Italy are more common in the south compared to the north of Italy, but the experts say that more or less with 25 gestures, you can actually substitute quite a lot of the verbal communication and use gestures, hand gestures in particular, in their case. So, doing a little bit of research, an interesting aspect is that Italian kids learn to communicate earlier than English kids, but not through language, through gestures. And they actually learn to speak after the equivalent age of the age of an English baby. An English child will learn to put two words together before an Italian. When I moved to Italy, I didn't really believe that I needed to learn two languages, the verbal language and the gesture language. So for the rest of my, before I continue with my speech, I think I would need to do one of the most famous ones in Italy, which is to keep away bad luck. Okay, so that is keep away bad luck. You see a black cat crossing, you definitely have to go like this, okay? Which is a strange aspect. I started learning the gestures mainly when my daughter was going to kindergarten. That's when she started developing this second strong language. Before it was small gestures, but when she was going to kindergarten, she started to become a true Italian. So I thought it would be quite nice to show you from experience, tell you a few little stories, and you can understand what type of gestures are used instead of verbal communication. So the first one, when I was putting Kerry to bed when she was a young girl, she said, "Daddy, when you were small, how fast could you run?" And I said, "I could run as fast as a cheetah." "Daddy!" Then, a couple of years later, I say to her, "But Kerry, has your teacher really given you all of this homework which you have to hand in tomorrow?" And she says, "Yeah, well, you know, Dad, my teacher is..." She was sweet at the beginning, and her gestures were quite sweet. I used to travel a lot for work, and when I was reversing out of the drive one day, going away for 2 weeks, there was little Kerry at the window, going like this. I thought that was very nice. But things ultimately changed, and she started getting a little bit bigger. "Kerry, have you done your homework? Kerry, have you done your homework? What do you want? And even sometimes I've had the... Occasionally, when I was very pushed, I would babysit and make dinner for my daughters because my wife would be out. And I'm a very bad cook, and I would make daddy pasta, which was overcooked spaghetti with tomato sauce from the tin. And my very polite daughters would always reply to humour me in positive ways, positive thinking. I would say, how is it, girls? And Sian, my eldest daughter, would say, great. And Kerry would go, Things changed. Now, if I give you the last recent occurrence, Kerry now is at university in Valencia. She's doing her examinations. And on Sunday evening, I said, have you studied enough for your examination on Monday? And she goes, Bob. After the exam, I said, so, how did it go? And she went, whew. So I guessed it was really tough. Thank you very much.